What is happening, Honey Badger Nation? Man, good to be back with you guys. And we are here for episode 80. And I'm super excited for today's episode. My name's John Kitchens, and we've got the one and only Miss Hollie Kitchens joining us today. And we're definitely going to jump into a topic she's absolutely passionate about, and it's finding your why. If you guys have any questions or want to engage in the conversation, throw it in the Q&A and chat. If you're watching the recording, throw it in the comments, and we'll definitely answer or clarify anything that you guys are looking for. So, Miss Hollie, say hello to the Honey Badger Nation.
What's going on, everyone? I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to go through this. I know this is a presentation that you've delivered. You give it at Agent to CEO, and man, we had some really exciting, really good feedback from that. I've also had a few clients go through the process as well, and just with rave reviews. So I know today is going to be a really impactful and powerful episode of Expert Mentors Live. Before we jump in, though, I do want to kind of shed some light on Expert Mentors. And, you know, we have the Honey Badger Nation's growing like exponentially, and it's really exciting. So we've got a bunch of new people inside of the community that might not just be quite aware of what Expert Mentors Live is all about. And, you know, like I said, we're 80. This is our 80th episode, and this is really the opportunity to be able to tap into the horsepower of this group. And as many of you guys know, there are so many talented people in this community, and so many of these talented people want to give back. So Expert Mentors Live allows us to leverage the power of this group for everyone to benefit with the live weekly training provided, you know, by some of the top agents, top people on the planet. And these calls are live every Wednesday at noon Central. Add it to your calendar so you guys do not miss out. And so that's it. I just wanted to share. So let's jump in. Let's get after it. I know you've got a great presentation, and it's going to be a great episode for everybody today.
Yeah, I'm super excited because I feel like you and I were a great yin yang. Like I'm always more passionate. I always think about coming from maybe an emotional standpoint, but I feel like you're very much the opposite. You're very numbers, logical driven. So I think to me, that's why I'm passionate about this particular topic, is because it kind of made sense. And it's literally, I cannot take any credit for any of this. This is going to be Simon Sinek's Finding Your Why. So if you guys have the opportunity to buy that book or download the Audible, I would definitely highly recommend it. Because it also will go through this process, but then it'll also take it and tell you how you can do it on your company scale as well. So just wanted to kind of, throw that out there and let you guys know where it kind of is a big deal to me, is because I started reading this book and I'm going through and it literally everything started clicking, because I'm that it kind of made me connect the dots as to the decisions that I've made, from a personal standpoint, but then also as a professional standpoint too. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. Okay, can you see my screen?
Got it.
Perfect. Cool. So finding your why. I know you guys have seen this quote. John had put it on there, but we find more meaning in what we do when we know why we're doing it. Simon Sinek. So that is the guy who is the author of the book. And this is actually a continuation of Start With Why. For those who've read that book, this is the second book in the series. So definitely pick it up if you haven't already. So let's talk about why does it even matter? Your why is the purpose. Oh, hold on just a second. Sorry, you guys, my screen's gone kind of weird here.
Sorry. While you're pulling that together, if you guys haven't gone through or read the book, at least jump over to the TED Talk site and just search Simon Sinek Start With Why, as it is it's about 28 minutes long. It's one of the top TED Talks of all time, and he really breaks down the whole concept and really what the whole book Start With Why was built from. So go check it out. It's really, really powerful.
For sure. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back on. I had the little thing was messing with my screen. But anyways, so our why is the purpose, the cause, or the belief that drives every organization and every person's individual career. So your why, think of your like why your company exists, why do you get out of bed this morning, and why should anyone care? And all right, ladies, bear with me. I know you guys especially, but this is definitely an unpopular opinion, but your kids are not your why. Your spouse is not your why. They are the what. And I know, like, whenever I give this presentation, I kind of get some daggered looks from the audience from people like, no, my kids are my why. Don't get it twisted. I have kids, so I totally get it. I thought the same thing too. But as we go through this presentation and the way that you kind of change your perspective on the whole definition of why, I think it'll make sense. So I just kind of want to start out the gate with that kind of, statement right there. So to live your why, you really have to focus on living your hows. Your hows are going to be the guiding principles that when you put them into action, it is us performing at our best. Without the meaning of the why, the only thing we have to focus on is going to be the results in the forms of metrics and numbers. And not that that necessarily is a bad thing, but if you think about it, that's how we get burnt out at work. That's how we get off balance, because we're so focused on the numbers that we just kind of like, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, got to do this. You're so focused on that result that you get burnt out on not remembering your why. So it creates the hamster wheel. You kind of feel like, okay, I got to wake up, go to work, come home, go to bed, rinse and repeat. And I feel like that's how a lot of people, experience that, because they lose that focus on the why, they don't ever really understand their why. So it's going to be a major culture killer. And I know, like, with you guys in the office, whenever in the Lawton office, culture was a huge thing for us, because obviously it was an alignment of all the employees. And I know you can speak about the core values and things like that, but how it kind of shaped the culture. And I feel like when people start getting away from their why, your employees are going to start looking forward to Fridays instead of Mondays. So you've got to be really good in the way you articulate it, so that it's not like that burnout doesn't pass on to your environment or to your employees. And I know you guys can definitely talk on that, John, from the Lawton office.
Yeah, I mean, from that standpoint, and we look at it from, a culture is just is really just a collection of your people. And so, making sure that you've got the right people that are bought in and believe what it is that, why, like you said, why your company even exists. What are you trying to accomplish? And so getting the people that are really rowing in that direction, that believe in what it is that you guys are trying to accomplish. And if not, we joke about it, but it's really serious. Just one bad apple can spoil the whole culture, and it's so true. And so if you've got that one person that doesn't believe in the cause, that is an outgoing personality, they're going to make their voice and their opinion heard, whether it's true or not true, which will ripple through and kill an organization, fast. It doesn't take long. And so the second that you see that, you've got to get rid of it, because by that time the damage is done, because you haven't done the work that you're going to share with everybody today.
For sure. So, it's really just taking our perception and shifting it and looking at things a little bit differently. Just want to talk to you guys about the intent of this presentation or this Expert Mentors Live is I'm not going to teach you guys anything new, but I'm going to take what you already have and what you already do and what you already know and just kind of look at them with a slightly different angle. So when we focus on the numbers and the metrics, we started becoming slaves to the actions to get those numbers and metrics. When we shift our perception to the purpose and the meaning of what we do, we get to choose the action that's going to be the result of those numbers. This is why it's so important for us to be able to articulate our why, not only to ourselves, but to our own colleagues and to our employees. So let's talk about like drafting your why statement. So I think, like I said, it's not going to be anything that's new. It's just going to be kind of a way so you guys can draft into a statement so that you guys can articulate it and kind of let people know like why you do what you do. So your why statement should be simple and clear, actionable, focused on how you'll contribute to others, and express in an affirmative language that resonates with you. So your why is it is discovered, not invented. It's not aspirational, so it's not what you aspire to be. However, it's who you already are, like as a person. And I just want to kind of take you guys through this discovery process of it. So you're going to first off gather and share stories. Then you're going to identify the themes in those stories, draft your why statement, test and refine, define your hows, examine your whys. So it's what we're doing on a daily basis. Share your why, and then inspire those around us. So just kind of put it into a visual for you guys. So your why is going to be the core of everything that you do. The hows are going to be the daily actionable items that you should be doing. And then the what is the result of those. So again, that's going to be your kids. It's going to be your spouse. It's going to be whatever you currently think is your why. That's actually just the result of your core why, if that makes sense. Cool. So let's talk about gathering and sharing stories. So your why is an origin story. And to uncover this, we're going to bring together what standout memories that we have and defining moments and examining those and kind of connect those dots. So it's going to be impactful times in your life. It's going to be times that you felt really fulfilled. So kind of think about those stories, and the ideal situation of going through this exercise is you guys will go through and pick no less than, I would say, 4 stories, but people can have up to 20 of impactful moment stories. And then from there, you're going to create those stories and retell them to someone else. Now, here's the catch. You don't want to tell them to somebody that's super close to you. Because like, for instance, like with John, I didn't go through this process with John because we have been together for so long that we've experienced a lot of those impactful moments. And what happens is my definition or my story of what happened in my mind is obviously going to be different from what happened to John in John's mind and John's experience. However, he's going to have that experience with me, and he's going to go ahead and capture his definition of that story. So find someone, a good friend that, maybe you can just kind of bounce stories off of and things like that. But find someone and share those impactful moments in your life. And then also think about stories that you've done something that was kind of like a kick in the stomach, like you felt bad about it. It was just not in alignment to who you are. Those are going to be your value stories that you'll want to kind of share too, because those are important to understand, is like why you felt bad during that time of doing that. So share these stories with the person and have a minimum of 3 to 4 and up to 20. So once you have those impactful moments in your life, and they can be not necessarily something that you've done, but also maybe somebody has done for you or to you as well. Next,
does it matter on those stories time frames? I mean, are they could it be something as recent as last week? Did they need to be 20 years ago? Like what are some is there right or wrong with this part of the process?
Absolutely not. Just as long as obviously that they're true stories. But just that you've had an emotion directed from these stories. It could have been a story from where you almost drowned at 4 like I did, or it could be a story of, coming back from Ironman last weekend. Whatever the case may be, just as long as you remember that emotion from that, and then that you're able to articulate it and tell someone. Obviously, you don't want to share stories about like something that happened to you when you were 2, because you probably don't remember that. You probably remember the story your mom told you, or your dad, or your grandma, or whoever. However, you didn't experience it. It definitely needs to be a story that you experienced, and then that emotion that was the result of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So go through, gather those stories, share them. And then next, let's talk about identifying your themes. So after that person collects your stories, listens to them, you guys kind of, review them. Next, you're going to start looking for recurring ideas, words, phrases, emotions that have emerged from these stories. These themes will become the foundation of your why statement.
And when you're sharing, like you said, share those stories, could that person help you kind of identify the themes if you're not able to uncover it?
Absolutely, for sure. Because and this really breaks down a lot deeper into the book. I just want to kind of give you guys this presentation and bring you the awareness of it. But in the book, Finding Your Why, it talks about all the different questions and stuff like that. And obviously they don't want to ask you why, because that why is not a good question, but there's different sentences that can go through, and then they can kind of walk you through that process to identify those themes.
Love it.
So next, from the sharing your stories to identifying the themes, now we're going to start drafting our why statement. And it's super simple. It's going to be to blank so that blank. And the first blank is going to be contribution. So that's the thing that we naturally provide when we are naturally at our best. So that blank, and this is going to be the result. So it's what we appreciate getting from someone else when we do this. And we have control over the contribution. However, we do not have control over the impact. So, thinking about like when we make the contribution, what do we hope that impacts that person from that action that we do? So just want to share with you guys some examples too, so that hopefully it kind of makes sense from here. So this is actually going to be Simon Sinek's why statement. To inspire people to do the things that inspire them so that together we can change the world. So his action is going to be, on Simon Sinek's action is going to be to inspire people. So what he wants, the action from that, or the impact, is going to be the world changing. So that's his. Here's another example: to empower and educate people, everyone, everywhere, so that they can improve their lives and achieve their goals. So again, the contribution is going to be, and this one is going to be empower and educate, and the impact is going to be so that people can improve their lives and achieve their goals. Another example: to inspire people to let go of limiting beliefs so that they can unleash their inner legend and live the life that they are intended to. Cool. So now that we've got that draft statement, now we're going to talk about testing and refining the why statement. And then after you guys get all that worked out, get your why statement together, now let's talk about defining your hows. So the hows are going to be the actions that we take at our natural best to bring our why to life. Use the remaining themes to define your why. So when you go back to the stories, maybe it was inspirational, educational, contribution, volunteer, things like that, but you chose inspirational because you feel like it's all directed into one. Now take those other things, and then that's going to be your hows. So to educate people, maybe it's going to be to teach at a seminar. Maybe it's going to be to speak on stage. So it's defining those hows so that you can live naturally at your best. Next, we're going to be talking about examining your what's. So the what's are going to be the tangible manifestations of our why in both our work and lives. Our what's are the actual work and what we do every day, and how we spend our time. So it's like, how are we showing up to the job that we have? So lastly, it's going to be, just sharing your why. It's going to be, taking the time to discover your why and articulate it is going to be simple. That's going to be the simple start of the journey. Now, the next comes the hard part. This is going to be whenever we have to act upon them, right? So we have to bring them to life. We have to share them. And then we have to, just kind of allow people to understand that's why we do what we do, because of our why. And because when the things that we say and do are aligned and believe in, we're fulfilling our why. And then lastly, just want to leave you guys with this. To live your why, you really have to focus on living your hows. Your hows are going to be the guiding principles that when we put them into action, that is going to be us at our best.
Cool. So kind of going back and kind of walking back through this process again a little bit on the test and refined, like what are some examples? What are some ways that we can go about, really testing and refining our statement of contribution and impact?
Well, the beauty of like your why statement is it's never really it might evolve, but it's not ever going to change. So you can say something like, say it's going to be to educate, but then you find out maybe you also empower people. Maybe you also do other things that are going to be bigger, that maybe that's not necessarily your why, but that's your how, that's going to get you to your journey. So maybe at the end of the day, it's going to be inspiring people. Maybe at the end of the day, it's going to be helping others. Maybe at the end of the day, it's going to be whatever, but it's really kind of identifying what's going to be the best. So you might have a couple, and I actually went through a couple of like, just draft, I wish I would have kept them, but draft why statements. And it's like, okay, that didn't feel just right because of the other things that I was doing that was actually bigger than that. So it ended up being a how versus, which would be like empowering, right? So I feel like inspiring was something more that I had felt I had done better than, or bigger than empowering.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So definitely kind of going through there and coming out of that, the hows really, and even with this slide right here, living to live it, you have to focus on living your hows, which for me kind of connects the dots on, our behaviors, right? Our habits. And are they the most empowering habits and behaviors that we have, that are alignment to our values? Is that kind of,
Absolutely.
am I thinking along the right lines with this?
Yeah, for sure. That's why whenever I was going through this process, like I was like, it literally just clicked for me. Cause I was like, that's why I've done the things that I've done. That's why I've, worked at the places I've worked. That's why I have, helped the people that I've helped. That's, it kind of like connected all the dots. It's like, got it. This makes sense. This is me living at my natural best. So, taking those stories that like, maybe you were not in alignment with your why, and then it was a direct result of you either, having regrets or feeling bad or doing whatever, taking that and saying, okay, like that is why I was not, living my best. That's why I wasn't feeling fulfilled. That's why I wasn't, feeling grace, because I wasn't living at my natural best. I wasn't acting at my natural best, because those hows are going to be the guiding principles that will bring your why into fruition, so that us as humans, we feel, fulfilled and performing at our natural best.
No, that's great. That really clicked a little bit right there. And so really more so when you're going through this why process, it's not aspirational. It's not what you strive to be. It's really who you are at your core.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
And I think that's the disconnect for a lot of folks, right? Because when we're like, even the vision process that we go through, right? When we talk purpose, which is the guiding principle, the guiding light, that's based upon our values, it almost feels aspirational, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas your why is really at the core of who you are when you're at your natural best. And so there's that high level of self-awareness that I think kicks in, that you really have to have that self-reflection that a lot of people struggle with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
No,
For
it's
sure.
fantastic. That really helped. I know I've kind of set through this process a couple times, but I think just understanding that, thinking through when you were, the happiest, the most in flow, to where it felt effortless, but yet you were being, it was really fulfilling and rewarding, at that point. Can you go back to the why statement slide, and I want to hit home on this a little bit more from a contribution to impact, now that we kind of understand, that it's not aspirational, that it's who we are, living our natural best. What is that contribution, and so that impact?
Are you talking about the example? Or are you talking about the template?
The template.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Mm-hmm.
So from a contribution, the thing we naturally provide when we are naturally at our best. So I think that's helpful, kind of going through this as you're thinking of moments and stories and those moments, like you said, where it didn't feel right because you might have acted outside of character, outside of who you are from a values standpoint. Really helps with that contribution piece, so that, and what do we appreciate getting from someone else? What do we need the most? so that hits the impact piece.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, once you get clear on that, like you said, it's just kind of looking at what we already knew, what we already did. It's just kind of looking at the different perspective of saying, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is my why. This is why I function as a human being. This is me at my best when I do the actions to fulfill this why, or to bring this why to life. And I think when we start kind of like voicing that and letting people know, like, hey, this is my why, people kind of start understanding of why the things that you do. It's not necessarily like to get ego, money, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, your goal is to get that impact action from everyone else by contributing what you contribute best to the world.
Yeah, I think it's a great guiding principle too, to align your behaviors and your habits that allow you to be at your natural best more often, right? That's kind of what I'm seeing, and going to the being the most efficient, being the most productive that you can, and that's the self-awareness and doing the things that you are absolutely that's a natural for you in zone of genius or whatever, right? But it's aligning those behaviors that directly associate with who you are at your core. I think it's from a productivity side of things, it really boils down to energy management, and all of us can do anything, right? And yet we can do things that are outside of our natural gift, where we're naturally at our best, but yet we'll go home at the end of the day completely exhausted. Yeah. Whereas if we really get clear on this and we align those behaviors, then it's as if you're not even putting out the energy, right? It's just a flow. So this is really, really critical. And this is what people buy into, right? This is what Simon talks about in Start With Why. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yep.
And this is, I think a lot of folks listening in, we talk about attraction all the time, right? It's not chase, it's attract. And when you are naturally at your best, it's the energy that we put off, and that's what attracts people to us. Mm-hmm. And so going through this process allows you to get into that alignment and really living your why. And that's what people buy into. That's what people are attracted to.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about that too, because it's funny, because I was on a call earlier today about helping someone, with their avatar and helping people out. And maybe this is kind of like a kind of way to look at it differently too, is like, thinking about whenever I was in real estate, there's so many different clienteles, but it's really kind of like going back to your avatar and identifying who is your ideal client. And to me, when I was in real estate, I feel like I had two for sure. And one definitely not. So what I did not want to do is I did not want to work with investors, because in Lawton, Oklahoma, investors would buy the $40,000 home. And there's only a handful of them that would pay cash sight unseen, but most of them want to go look at these houses all the time, which is great, but I just wasn't that person. But what I really fulfilled and what I loved doing was first-time home buyers, because I could educate them, I can inspire them, I can lead them through that process of something new. And at the end of the day, I had numbers and metrics to hit as far as home sales goes or contracts goes. And I could either way, and I think this is just a classic example of, becoming slaves to the action. Because if I wanted to get X amount of GCI under contract or X amount of contracts, I could have definitely went out and took the opportunity and shown investors, which are a great opportunity, but not for me as a person. For me as a person, I get more of a fulfillment going through and inspiring first-time home buyers and educating them so that they can go and purchase the home that they wanted, that they had no idea that they could purchase. So at the end of the day, it's nice, like looking backwards, hindsight, I'm like, that's, it goes back to my whys, because I like to go through that journey. I mean, versus the other journey of, investors looking to flip a house or do whatever, and not becoming the slave to those actions, but really, choosing my house of, identifying the first time home buyers. And hopefully this makes sense too, like going back to talking about, like, your kids not being your why, but you're really they are the result of your actions, of your house, of how you're raising them. So just want to kind of touch back on that too, because if you think about it as a parent, I was a person before, I was a woman before I had kids. I was a lady before I had children, right? So I was somebody else back, I wouldn't walk out the womb having kids. And then also, thinking about it, when my kids graduate or they go and they move off, they're going to start a family. So then what? Are my kids still my why? And it kind of helps kind of get that clarity too. Because I feel like a lot of people are like, wait, what? Your kids aren't your why? But it's like, when you think about this formula and this, the way that you present it this way, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That was a great example with the investors versus the first time home buyers, because, it's really, it's that, it's really fulfilling, right? It's that impact piece.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're helping somebody accomplish, such a, an emotional transition, magical moment, a tremendous impact in their own lives. Whereas an investor, they are not attached emotionally. It's cold, right? It's a cold transaction. Whereas first time home buyers, it's a warm, fulfilling moment. And that resonates. I think that paints a clear contrast, a clear distinction on how this really comes together.
For sure, because if my why is going to be inspiring people, like you said, it's going to be a cold transaction. They're probably not going to feel much inspired. However, if my why was something more like to educate people or to help, in whatever form and fashion, to help build their capital or their wealth, then investors might be something exciting for you. You know what I mean? Because you're like, if you're driven in another way. But
Sure.
Me personally, I'm like more of like an experience type based person.
Sure. Just thinking through different cycles of the market. And we've had clients that, they worked through the REO days, they worked through the short sale days, and their favorite clients were the short sale clients, right? Mm-hmm. Because they were really helping them solve a real situation and getting them through and having a tremendous impact. And versus the REO days, it's just cold. There's nothing. It's just like, ugh, they burn out. They hated the business.
Yeah.
And so, that it really makes sense. And for a lot of people though, they don't understand what it is that's happening. And, I really think if you understand this, you make better decisions. You say yes to the things that matter, and you say no more often to the things that don't. And that's really the power that I'm seeing in this particular process, is that, most businesses don't die of starvation, right? They die because of too much things going on and the ability to not get clear. And this process right here will help you get clear on the things that are the most fulfilling to you, to where you need to focus your time and energy, because it's going to be the most rewarding. It's going to be the most enjoyable. You're going to be freaking happy. And, you're going to make those around you happy as well.
For sure.
You're saying I'm not an emotional type of person here. I'm all logic and cold. My heart's coming out right here.
You've gotten better. Before, I will say that, like, those OGs that used to work on Jay's team, I know Kat can definitely relate to this. Like, coaching has definitely helped you with that sense. Beforehand, it was like, what's your numbers? What's this? And I'm like, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, I will say you've definitely changed, but it's still the same. I'm thinking about like, even like, when I launched the boutique, you were talking about like, you realize how many shirts you have to sling to make this profit and this, you're writing out all these numbers and this. I'm just like, I just want to make people look, feel and look good. Like, I just want people to do this, do that. So it's like, it's just funny. It's cool. It's a cool balance, I will say.
No, it's fantastic. So going through this process, if somebody wanted to connect with you and, more of a one-on-one capacity to help them work through this, which I believe all of you guys listening in should, it's a critical component to have in your business moving forward as you continue to grow and align and attract people to you. What's the best way for them to get connected with you?
For sure. Facebook's probably the easiest way. So Hollie Kitchens, HOLIE Kitchens on Facebook. Shoot me a message that way, and then we'll definitely connect. For sure. I'd love the opportunity to help you guys get clarity, whether it be listening to your stories or just kind of, seeing if you have any questions I can help you with or whatever it be. I'm here for you for sure.
Sweet. I love it. So appreciate you taking the time, jumping in and sharing this process with the Honey Badger Nation. For all of you guys listening in to the recording or live, make sure you guys give Hollie some love and, share your biggest takeaway. It really has an impact on all of our expert mentors when they take the time out of their busy schedules to add massive value back to our community. Share with them, give them some love, connect with them, and let's continue to keep pushing each other to get better. So appreciate you, Miss Hollie. Thanks guys for tuning in, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.